Okay, so today's lesson, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through the build side of it. So we have our breadboard ready to go. We have our main Arduino board. This is the board that I was talking about where we can see on here pin 13. I know it's not as clear, but pin 13 shares the same port as our default light on here. The reason why we don't want to use that is because it does share it with the debugging menu on Arduino boards. Okay. We have our photo sensor. We have our little piezo buzzer, which, if you remember how it sounded inside the actual Tinkercad, it's not going to sound as terrible as that, but it's going to be kind of close. And then we have our LED that we're going to switch it to. You can see I bent it just so it's not shining directly back up into the light and we get it a little bit more at an angle. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and put these into our board. I'm going to find our positive side on our piezo and put that in our positive. You'll see that I'm bridging across. That's perfectly fine to do. I'm going to get our photo sensor placed. And you can see I've kind of angled that off so it actually takes more light from over here instead of directly from our LED. I'm going to place our LED. You'll see that I bridge it kind of far across over there. Okay. Now for the LED, what I have is actually have a 330 resistor, not a 220. All that's going to do is just dim it just a little bit. We probably won't even be able to notice it. Okay, and that's going to go negative to negative on the terminal side to negative over there. And then we're going to bring in our signal. So I'm going to put it in pin 9. That's just usually the pin that I have in common with that. Okay. I'm going to get my ground. My ground to ground. And my 5 volt in for my 5 volt. Okay. I'm going to get my signal coming from port 8 over to the positive side of my piezo buzzer. And then I'm going to have my ground. I can do my ground like this. I can do it, bringing it over here. This, I'm going to line it up so I make sure that we're in the same port. I line that up with port 4. And it's just in the next slot right there. Okay. And then for the photo sensor over here, we have a 10K resistor that's going to go in. Okay. And now you might notice I have reds left. It's what I got. I can pull out ones that if I needed more. That's going to read into my signal there. And this resistor should be going back to negative. And then we should have a hot to the other terminal coming in. Now I'm going to say this, that if you guys are wanting to do your own Arduino builds and stuff like that, there are kits out there. They're not too expensive off of Amazon. They're about $30 for like a beginner's board. But they can range up to about $150 if you want to get like a pretty advanced board. Okay. So right here we have everything set up. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to plug it in. I already have my code set up for it. And we'll notice the sound for this isn't as terrible. So you can see our light flashing over here. So now our LED's on, so it's taking that low sensor read, high sensor read. And we can hear that. And based off of how much light it's getting, we can also see the dimming of the bulb. We can't really see it on there. It's a little too much direct light into it. There we go. Oh, I bridged a connection. So let me see if I can tip that a little bit more, so we can see our LED getting brighter or getting more dim based off of how much light it's actually receiving. So we can try to bend this almost flat 90. So you can kind of see in the shadow of it how bright and small, or how dim or bright that is. Okay. Okay. So what we have over here now is, this is the actual code that we have, which should have both challenges in there. If I remember right, the first challenge was to change our pin and change it from 13 to a different number on our board. What we do is we can change that variable up on top, which is the LED pin, and we just set that equal to a different number inside the digital ports over here. Okay, so our digital ports are 0 through 13. I like setting it to 9. That's generally what I set it to for when we are doing projects. Okay, so that just sets it to there instead of having to have 9 here, 9 here, and then in other places where we actually have 9, it makes it handy for us to not have it there at 13. Okay. And so the second challenge was to utilize the map feature to create a variable length, so we can actually vary our LED light. Okay. And we were able to do that by associating our sensor value with our low and high that it took for the reading from up here in setup to 0 to 255. Remember, 255 is as bright as the LED is going to go, and then 0 is obviously off. And then we just map that to a new integer variable called LED light, and then we use an analog right, but we need to make sure that we are in one of the tilde, the PMW functions on there, which are mapped to 3, 5, 6, 9, 10, and 11. So as long as we're in one of those ports, our LED light will vary in intensity. Okay? So and then this little section right here is just with our better speaker. I didn't have time to make a box for it. I could set it back in its box right here. I don't know if the wires will stay on it. I can see, so you can see what it looks like and sounds like. Yeah, so this is our Theremin. And like I said, most of the time you find this in like scary shows and stuff like that. We'll have a theremin in it for sound. So I'm going to plug it back in. What we'll do is we'll see the board. You probably won't be able to see the LED light. You might see some glow from it. Yeah, so we're just setting our size right now. And then there's our theremin based off of how much light is it seeing. And I hope that was a good experience for you guys. I hope this was a little fun. If the sound scared you guys from the video, I'm sorry. But I did warn you in it. So have a good rest of your week. Tomorrow and Friday are going to be still going to be available. It'll just be open for any questions or help or anything like that you guys need for the project or projects. Okay? Thank you. We'll see you guys on Monday.